Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about severe weather, an Arctic blast, heavy snow, and an ice storm moving in. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. Good morning everyone, this is your January 19th update, and what we're taking a look at this morning is the overall satellite and radar. And we can see we've got some rain moving into portions of Washington, and it's going to be cold enough where some of that's going to be transferring over to snow into eastern Washington, getting into portions of Idaho here. But you can see this cold front with the negative temperatures up here in Canada, it's finally on the move here, this Arctic blast. But out here we got the warm sector. Well to the south, we're talking 70s down here, and that's why they've actually upped the severe risk for today. We're getting better indications for these thunderstorms that could be a little bit on the stronger side. So they've actually upgraded this to a slight risk for severe weather, for those damaging winds, those isolated large hail, and there is a lot of low-level shear in the atmosphere as well, where we could be looking at 1 or 2 tornadoes is definitely not out of the question within this risk area before the Arctic front arrives. So let's take a look at the overall watches and warnings that are just now updating. We've got sporadic winter weather advisories into portions of Montana, going into portions of Colorado here. We're going to be talking about this little system out ahead. There you got sporadic winter weather advisories in portions of Arkansas here, as well as Kentucky, going into West Virginia in the extreme southern parts of Ohio here. But man, look at these. This is winter storm watches all the way down for the deep south. Yes, we're talking Austin, San Antonio, and even portions of Laredo in Zabeta, Texas. I mean, that is very rare. I mean, Zabeta is one of the hottest parts in Texas. Typically, that's one of your warmest areas in Texas, and they're actually going to be reaching almost 90 degrees today. Yet they're under a freeze watch and winter storm watch as we have this disturbance going to be moving overhead as this cold Arctic air plunges south. But they've got new fresh winter storm watches out here in the Carolinas again, and South Carolina as well as North Carolina. So we're also going to be looking at this system moving across and talking about some ice and some heavier snow moving in. So let's kind of fine tune this and take you through time, what it's going to look like around noon time today. You can see the graph at the bottom of the screen. I moved my head up away from the graph so you can see this, where the blue is your snow, your ice pellets, that's your kind of your orange color, that's your sleet, and then your pink is your freezing rain. Of course, this is your rain graph on the right hand side of the screen. You can see by noon we're going to be starting to see those isolated popcorn thunderstorms going to be popping up into portions of East Texas, going into Louisiana, getting into portions of Arkansas here, into Tennessee, as well as Kentucky ahead of this cold front. On the north side, we could be looking at some snow starting to break out in the extreme portions of southern Missouri here in southern Illinois. That's around noon time today. So let's walk you through time as we get into kind of the overnight hours, about 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. We got the rain to the north in the Pacific Northwest. It's going to transfer to some snow on the eastern side of Washington. That we have another system coming in, this little mini disturbance in portions of New Mexico, and even the panhandle of Texas is going to start to see some of that snow as we go into the overnight hours. There's the warm sector with those stronger to severe thunderstorms, so be on the lookout in the Houston Metroplex, get into Louisiana, going into central Mississippi, northern Alabama here, and going into Tennessee. Out ahead of it, there's the heavier snow, so your darker blues indicate that heavier convective banding moving through portions of Kentucky again, going into West Virginia, and this will get into southern parts of Pennsylvania and southern parts of Ohio again as well. And as we continue to expand and go into the morning hours, around 7 o'clock in the morning now on Thursday, there's the snow in the Pacific Northwest. We're starting to see, as some of the cold air starts to kind of drain in, we're going to be starting to see mixed precipitation break out in extreme portions of West Texas, starting to see some changeover into portions of deep South Texas here near Del Rio. That we're under a winter storm watch. out ahead of it, there's that band. So we're going to be looking at a solid band of a good 1 to 4 inch swath of snow, I feel. This will include portions of Maryland here, going into portions of Delaware, into extreme portions of PA on the eastern side, northern Jersey, getting into Long Island, Philly, Boston, up the coast here, up the I-94 corridor, into Rhode Island, going into Massachusetts, into Connecticut. This is a pretty good swath of 1 to 4 inch snow as this is going to be moving in on the day on Thursday. So as that cold front plunges, look how far south it gets, all the way down in the Rio Grande Valley. That is true Arctic air for this time of year. But yeah, we've got that mini low pressure system on the south side, and you get these overrunning conditions. That's why they've got these rare winter storm watches in place for portions all the way down in the deep south of Texas. And these temperatures are going to be crucial as we get into that Friday morning time frame along the coast here with 30 to 32 degree temperatures. Some of this could be kind of an icy, glaze on the roadways, freezing rain falling in from this system as that cold Arctic air continues to plunge southward. And we talked about this about a week or so ago. We noticed a noticeable change in the Southern Oscillation Index. When we started getting these negative drops, we talked about the subtropical jet getting a lot more active, and that's going to set the stage for better opportunities for portions of the South getting in the mix of winter weather activity. And you can see with these continuing negative drops from where it has been, we're going to start to see more of these setups going forward over the next couple of weeks. We're already in the coldest time frame of the year. So yes, we will have more opportunities for portions of the South going forward over the next couple of weeks, as the SOI is a leading indicator and tells you, say, hey, there's more stuff that's on the table with these negative drops as we've seen as of late. So as we move through time, let's take a look about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. That's going to set up some of that heavier rain that we talked about with that cold Arctic air moving in. There's your snow moving out on the I-95 corridor. Take you through time as we get into Friday. I showed you the graph before. That's going to set the stage with that cold front driving all the way down in the deep south of Texas. I mean, look at that. That's a rare event. We're talking snow in Mexico here. That's what I'm talking about. We've got that changeover into portions of Del Rio, into Austin, into San Antonio, into all the way down in the Rio Grande Valley, even places near Brownsville. This is a very rare event as this moves through this kind of a changeover as we get into the overnight hours on Friday into Friday night or Thursday night going into Friday morning. So there's the temperatures. I showed you the cold front plunging all the way down to the south. So it's going to be crucial along the south side here of look at these temperatures right around 34, 32, some are 30 degrees here. So obviously 32 is freezing. You start getting a little bit below that, that's going to start to having an impact on some of these icy icy bridges and overpass. So definitely use extra precaution down in the deep south going into Thursday night into Friday morning, or some of that icy glaze mix on the road. A lot of this could be black ice, so that is very dangerous because you're not expecting it, right? I mean, there's kind of a rare event that temperatures get this low with precipitation around. So definitely be on the lookout and weather aware, as you drive to work on Friday morning in portions of the deep south. So there's your setup for as we get into that Saturday time frame, going in that Friday and Saturday time frame with that continued plunge in cold Arctic temperatures. There's the low pressure setting all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to start lifting northward, but we're starting to get a lot more clarity on the trajectory of this low pressure as it moves off. So it appears it's going to be a little bit more progressive, and it's actually going to be continuing to move off the coast and not head up inland and have a major snow event for the Northeast like we saw last week. So we're starting to get a lot more clarity on the overall track of this particular system, or this next system, because by the time we go into that Friday afternoon time frame, there's the setup. We've got the low pressure setting off of the Carolina coast. there's your cold Arctic air is going to continuing to plunge, right? So that's why we've got those winter storm watches in place for the Carolinas and North Carolina. And I actually feel as this cold air compresses, you're going to see winter storm watches probably expand all the way down to Savannah, right? And so that is going to set the stage for, unfortunately, an icy, messy setup. And some of this could be a lot of accumulations on the power lines and the roadways. So we could be looking at almost a damaging type ice event in portions of the South Carolina into North Carolina with snow on the northern side. And we look at this low pressure system continuing to move up the coast, but it's not going to move up. It's more or less going to be progressive and start to move away. But we're going to have plenty of cold air in place, and a lot of this is going to be heavier snow, especially as we get into the Carolinas here, going into Virginia, into portions of Delaware here. As this continues to ride up, and as we move into that Saturday morning time frame, there's your overall low pressure on the latest Euro model that continues to pull off. It's along the coast here, so we're going to be adding to those totals what you're going to be seeing with that first event. And look at the GFS; it's not even nearly as progressive, or not as nearly as amplified as the Euro is at the moment. But yeah, we're looking at more congruency to say, hey, this is going to be moving away and moving offshore rather than come up the coast. But the conveyor belt continues. We've got more low pressures down south. We got another one back here into portions of the west here. So it's not going to be over, right? So this is going to be a continuing effect with that continuing SOI index drop. I feel this is going to be more of a conveyor belt as that cold Arctic air continues to plunge down, with the teleconnection saying, hey, it's gonna remain around for an extended period of time. And also, we're in the heart of winter. So let's take a look at some of these preliminary ice accumulations, right? So yes, this is kind of a rare event all the way down into the deep south. We're looking at some accumulating ice. I think into portions of Houston and getting further south, some of this is not going to be accumulating, but we could be having some freezing rain, just maybe not accumulating ice on the roadways. But down here where they've got those winter weather or winter storm watches in place, yes, we could be looking at some accumulating ice and pockets of accumulating ice all the way down into the deep south, where I showed you those temperatures right around 30 degrees, right? So that's definitely cold enough to start accumulating on the roadways. But yeah, once we get into the Carolinas, I think Atlanta's on the borderline this event. I'm not expecting terribly too much for Atlanta from this particular event. I think it gets its act together to east of you, but especially into the Carolinas and to North Carolina. We could be looking at significant ice totals along the coast, and on the northern side, that heavier snow in and around places that you don't get really heavier snow, like Virginia Beach and places like that. Could be looking at some heavier snow as we move through that Friday into Saturday time frame, as this continues to progress off the coast here. And let's take a look at, I had a request to talk about the overall NFL weather forecast for these upcoming NFL games for this weekend. So let's highlight these 4 games. We got the Bengals and the Titans. They kick off around 4:30 Eastern time on Saturday. Temperatures around 38 degrees, mostly sunny skies, barely any chances of rain, right? As the Packers take on the 49ers in Lambeau, we're looking at high of 22 degrees, right? But the kickoff is at 8:15 Eastern time. You start getting into the nighttime hours, we're looking at a temperature of 1 below 0. So that's going to be true Lambeau weather out there. So definitely we could be looking at a little bit of accumulating snow. So that'll be an interesting game to watch. And then also we have the Rams and Bucks to kick off at 3 o'clock on Sunday. That temperature is 62 degrees. Of course, it's in Tampa Bay, right? So 62 degrees and in Tampa there. But the Bills take on the Chiefs right around 6:30, and the kickoff is around 24 degrees and hardly any precipitation for that event. But like I mentioned, after this event moves out, we've got more on the table. So we have cold air plunging into the eastern parts of the US, and then we have more troughs setting up on the south side, as we're going to have more opportunities for places in the south to have more winter weather going forward, I feel, over the next couple of weeks. As for the most part, we've got the ridge building out west with these above average temperatures. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.